All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to, let me pause that. Welcome to year-end business planning. So appreciate everybody being on. We ran through this a few weeks ago at our in-person success conference, but I know a lot of you were unable to attend the in-person event. So we wanted to run through a portion of this again today, which is business planning. So first of all, I want to say good morning. Looks like we got a bunch of people on. Whether you're watching on Facebook or watching directly on StreamYard, feel free to drop comments in at any point in time. We'll make sure we get those answered. But Sherry, good morning. Kathy, Shantae, Charisse, everybody on Facebook, good morning. Welcome. Thank you for being here. So let's dive in. Let's talk about our business planning. I can't believe it's already, the year's almost over. Pretty crazy. It was a fast year. They get faster every year, that's for sure, especially as we get older. But let's dive in. First thing I want to talk about is normally when we talk about this time of year, we do a business plan and we do an annual business plan. We do a plan for 2025. We get excited. We set a lot of goals. We put a robust plan together on what we're going to do, what we're going to accomplish. And what tends to happen is when we do an annual plan like that, we don't achieve our goals. So who's ever established a goal, and you set out to achieve it, right? No one establishes goals to not achieve it. But who's ever put a goal in place and then not achieved it? Maybe a real estate goal, maybe a health goal, maybe a financial goal, whatever the case may be. Many of us, if not all of us, have. And so what I want to talk about today is throwing out the annual plan. We're not going to focus on a 12-month period in our business planning. And the reason for that is simply for this, because if I set a goal today, and I come out of this business plan excited, I'm pumped up, I'm ready to crush 2025. What happens is I have 12 months now in 2025 to achieve my goal. It's too much time. It allows too much time to be relaxed, to be passive. And then what happens to a lot of people is, let's say they set a goal to make $10,000 a month and they get to January, or they set a goal to make 100,000. Let's say that. And they get to January and they have zero sales, no closings, they make zero money. No big deal. There's no panic because I still got 11 months ahead of me. I have plenty of time to go make this happen. And then February, maybe I have no sales. That's okay. It's winter, spring season's right around the corner. I'm going to pick it up there. And then I get to June and I'm at $25,000 in commissions earned. And now all of a sudden I have this moment where it's like, well, wait a minute. I'm 6 months into the year. And my goal is to make 100, and I'm at $25,000. I'm 25% of my goal halfway into the year. So what tends to happen is we have two choices. We can either increase our effort and go really kick butt to make things happen to achieve 75,000 in the next 6 months, whereas we've only made 25 in the first 6. Or option 2 is we make sense of a lower target. Now, most people will make sense of a lower target. They're going to say things like, and this is present company included, I'm equally guilty of this in the past. They're going to say things like, well, you know what, if I made 50, my bills are covered. If I made 55, it's more than I achieved last year, so it's still positive growth. We start to tell ourselves and we lie to ourselves that it's okay not to achieve the goal we set out to achieve. And so we make sense of that lower target, and therefore we fall short of our goal year after year after year after year. And the reason for it is because we just have too much time. So what I want to talk about today is, rather than having this annual plan where it's this long goal throughout the year, let's focus on the next 12 weeks. Now, a lot of what I'm going to talk about today is from a book called The 12-Week Year, Brian Moran, The 12-Week Year. I read this book 3, 4, or 5 years ago. I can't remember. And it really impacted the way I think about goal setting. It impacted my business. It impacted our real estate business, our real estate team's business. And so I'm going to talk a lot around the principles that I've taken from this and how you can apply it now into your business to make sure you stay on track to hit your goals month after month, year after year, forever. So I want to focus on the next 12 weeks. So let's just hypothetically say right now it was January 1st. And for easy math, I had a goal to achieve $100,000. Now, what I want to do is I want to break my business up into quarters or 12-week periods. And now 12 weeks is going to equal my year. And what I mean by that is this: rather than focusing on my goal of $100,000, I want to break this down and say, okay, in Q1, the first 12 weeks of the year, I need to focus on making 20% of my income, which is $20,000. That's all I'm focused on right now. I need to go make $20,000 in the next 12 weeks. I don't care about the 100 right now. I'm taking a big goal and making it a smaller number. And then I focus in Q2 on 30% of my income, Q3 and 30%, Q4 and 20%. Now, if you've been around me, you know I'm a big believer that real estate sales occur every single month of the year. And for the realtors that continue to put their foot on the gas and keep their foot on the gas, you can have fantastic November, December, January. Statistically, for myself, when I was running my team, we would see December as our second best month of the year. So almost every single year, December was the second best month of the year. And the reason for that was because we kept pushing during this time of year. We didn't pull back and slow down. So I want you to keep that in mind. With that said, we do experience a little bit of seasonality in our business. And so because of that, we're putting our numbers here. So I want you to think about that. 20% of your income in Q1, 30% in Q2, 30% in Q3, 20% in Q4. Now, what I'm focusing on again is I'm focusing on the next 12 weeks for my business. So all I care about, if my goal was $100,000, is I want to go earn $20,000 in the first 12 weeks. I'm not worried about the other 70 right now. I'm set on achieving my goal. By doing this, we're going to put clarity, we're going to put focus, and we're going to put the most important thing, which is urgency, into our goal setting. Because me back in the day, when I first got into real estate, 2005, I actually bought a book on real estate goal setting and on how to do a real estate goal setting and business planning. And I read the book and I wrote out this elaborate business plan. It was like a 10-page business plan with everything you could think of that I was planning on doing that next year. And then guess what happened with that business plan? What do you guys think happened with that business plan? What happened was it got put in a drawer and I didn't look at it for months. And so I was excited, I was pumped up, but I lacked the urgency and I lacked the importance of why the goal I wanted to achieve was important. And so that business plan sat in a drawer and nothing came of it. I didn't accomplish any of it. I didn't execute on any of it. It was just too much and too much time. So what we're going to focus on today is simplifying our plan around what we want to achieve, and we're going to compartmentalize it and break it into 12-week periods. So let's talk about this for a moment. Now, a lot of times when I do this, I want to figure out, one, I want you to think about what is your financial goal? And if you have a piece of paper or pull out a piece of paper, write it down. What is your financial goal in 2025? If we're sitting here next year, approaching the end of the year, and we're having a conversation and you say, you know what, that was an awesome year. How much money did you earn? So I want you to think about this. Don't just write down a number. I want you to write down, if we're sitting here a year from now, how much have you earned in 2025? What is your financial goal? We have to first get clarity around what my financial goal is. Now, once I've established that number, there's a couple of things I need to do. The first one is I need to ask myself, how committed am I to achieving my goal? We've all been to these business plannings where people stand up and they say, I'm going to sell $50 million in real estate next year. And everybody claps and goes nuts. Like, awesome. Oh, my team's going to sell 1,000 homes, right? And then it turns out that team sells like 80 homes, right? Which is still a good year. Like, I'm not knocking it, but it's so far from what the goal was because it's easy to just blurt out a number. This is what I'm going to go do. But if there's no plan behind it, and more importantly, if there's no true commitment, it's never going to happen. So we need to be thinking about how committed am I to achieving my goal? Is it some number where it's like, well, if I hit that, that would be cool. But if I made half of it, that'd be cool too. I'd be totally okay with it. What is the real number and how committed am I to making it happen? So I want you to start thinking about that from a commitment perspective. How committed am I to achieving my goal? Now, I want you to think about two things. Have you achieved your goals in the past? If yes, how did you feel about it? How did it feel to achieve your goal? A goal you set out to go make happen. How did it feel? How good did it feel? All right, can you remember that feeling? Can you think back to when maybe it's a recent goal. Maybe it's something it's been a few years since you've hit your goals. Maybe you haven't set goals at all. You're just kind of hoping that things turn around. But I want you to think about that. If yes, how did it make you feel? And I want you to think about that feeling. Now, if no, let's say it's been a while since we've set goals and achieved them. What stopped us? What stopped us from achieving those goals? And I firmly believe, and I know this gets thrown around a lot with mindset and that, but I do firmly believe that when we set a goal and we have clarity around why that goal is important, the how becomes a lot easier. When the why is strong, the how becomes easier. And so for me, it's about knowing your why. Why am I going out every day and selling houses? Why am I getting out of bed every day and going and trying to meet with strangers and list people's houses and going out and showing property without the full guarantee that I'm ever going to get compensated for this? Why am I doing it? All right, it's not just to make money for a lot of us. There is a reason behind it. There is a reason behind why that money is important. Like we always hear, money is a tool. All right, money is a tool that can be utilized to do a lot of great things. Right, the more money I have, the greater the ability I have to go help people, to better the lives of myself, my family, the people I care about. So we have to know your why. So here I have written down your big why, if you will, is something you plug into emotionally that drives you when things get tough. It's not a wish or a goal. It's something that really matters to you. It's your purpose. So what is important to me about my goal? And why is it important? What's going to get me out of bed when I don't feel like doing it, when things are tough, right? Because here's the thing, it's easy to be motivated when everything's going well. It's super easy to be motivated. I just sold 3 houses, money's coming in, life's good, bills are paid, super easy to be motivated. It's how we stay motivated when things aren't going well. Like who on this call, and you don't have to comment, but who's ever been completely broke other than me, right? Who can remember, and maybe you're not in that situation anymore, but who can remember, because I vividly remember times when I had negative money in my checking account. I remember going in to take a shower and my water wouldn't turn on because it was shut off. I remember in the winter heating my bedroom with a propane construction heater because my heat was shut off. I remember debt collectors calling me every single day because I was behind on the $104,000 in student loans I had and the $12,000+ in credit cards and putting myself through college. Like I remember that vividly. I remember being fearful of going to my mailbox because I knew it was going to be nothing but overdue bills, right? And so for me, part of my why, which we'll touch on here a little bit more, was I wanted to get out of that situation. I was tired of living like that. And so when you look at it, my why has evolved, and I'll share with you a lot of my whys here in a moment, but my why has evolved greatly from where it was 15 years ago. And so I want you to think about, what is your why? What is the reason that you're going to do this? And so for me, I feel that once you have clarity around what's important to you, putting it, and here's some examples too first of what a why. These are from agents I've talked to over the years. Different things for what their why was. Because for a lot of people, it's what's important to somebody else might not be important to you and vice versa. But a lot of people, what I found for a lot of it was family. A lot of it evolved around family, helping family. But just look at some stuff here. Support my family, travel the world, go on a moose hunt, right? Those things aren't cheap. Allow my spouse to quit their job. Pretty powerful why, right? Travel the world again, retire at 50. All kinds of things here. Some of these are, looks like they're duplicate, but think about this. What's the reason you want to make this happen? And so for me, I put all of my stuff on a vision board. I love having a vision board. I've achieved a lot. My vision board is being updated pretty much yearly, I would say, because things I achieve, I've got short-term things, I've got long-term things. And when I have my vision, and I'll tell you this, like this is kind of awkward, me putting this up here, but it's something I look at. I save it as my screensaver on my computer, and I look at it every single day. And I focus on this, and I figure out ways to make it happen. And so some of the things on here are a little uncomfortable to show people, but whatever, you know what, that's okay. It's good to be uncomfortable. But when I establish my vision for where I see my life wanting to go, I then start to figure out how to make that happen. So I'm going to give you an example here. There are some questions I ask myself when it comes to my vision. And the first one, like I've got here, leave 100 million. I have a daughter not yet born, she'll be here in February. So I'm already thinking about financially, how do I set my daughter up to to where she never has to struggle with money like I did, to where it's never an issue for her. She never has to think about it. Right? So how do I leave her $100 million net worth? Now, $100 million net worth is very far, very, very far away from where my net worth is today. So I have two options. I can say, well, that's not possible. That's for somebody else. That's only for the wealthy. Or I could start asking myself some questions. And here's what I like to ask myself. Whenever I establish my vision, rather than saying, well, that's not possible, it's too much money, I'm too far away from the goal, it's never going to happen, I started asking myself, rather than saying it's impossible, and I learned this years ago, and you've all heard of the book, I'm sure, it's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And my greatest takeaway, I read that book in my 20s, and the most powerful thing I took away from that book was a mindset shift around the difference between wealthy and poor people. Is that when wealthy people are faced with a challenge, or they're faced with an opportunity, even for that matter, rather than saying it's not possible, they start asking, what if it was possible? What if it was possible to achieve everything you've ever wanted? Because when I immediately say that's not possible, that's for somebody else, the rich get richer, the rich are all crooks, this or that, and I immediately shut my brain off from thinking. And we know that, I don't want to get too strange on you here, but we know that the brain is the most powerful resource we have. And when we say it's not possible, we cut off any creativity that we'll ever have to create that vision, and we create what's called a lazy mind. We create a lazy mind when we say that's not possible. So what I would urge you to do, if you have that, or maybe you catch yourself saying that a lot, that's for somebody else, that'll never be me, it's too late in my life, I'm past the my life, I'm too old now to make money, right? You hear that a lot too. But instead of saying that's impossible, I want you to start asking yourself, what if it was possible? What if? And if it was possible, how might I go achieve that? And so when I set a target like that, like $100 million net worth for my daughter, instead of saying that's impossible, I say, what if it was possible? How might I go achieve that? And then my brain gets into action and I start thinking, and I've already put a plan around this. So my daughter is not born yet, but when she is born, there's one simple thing that will get me halfway there, should get me halfway there. I set up a Roth IRA, custodial Roth IRA for her the day she's born, or within a week or two when she's born. I'll have to then fund that Roth IRA, but she needs income. So I need to employ her at Network Global as an employee, as potentially a baby model, right? So she might be all over our social media stuff. And then I can employ her with tax-free income that I can then fund her custodial Roth IRA. And if her Roth IRA gets funded every single year for 65 years in an index fund, that's since the creation of it in 1957 has generated over a 10% annual return. That would get me to $53 million for her. It gets me halfway there. That one simple thing, that's a $500,000 investment, just shy of it over 65 years. And that gets her to $53 million. So all of a sudden now, my $100 million goal doesn't seem so far away. If that one vehicle gets me halfway there, I just got to make another 47 million somehow to make that happen. So my point is, if I just immediately said that's not possible, I shut off my brain from thinking. And so that's why I urge you or implore you to think, right? Before you say not possible for somebody else, I could never achieve $500,000 in real estate sales. Why not? If you wanted to, and you wanted it bad enough, you could. I promise you could. Right? But you have to have a strong enough vision and a strong enough reason why. Now, some of these things can be, like cars and houses and all this stuff, that might not be a motivating force. Like your why doesn't have to be this massive thing. We often use the phrase big why, but for me back in the day, my big why was to make $50,000 so I could get current on my debt, not get my debt paid off, just to get current, where I wasn't on a first name basis with debt collectors. That was my big why. 50 grand. It was all the money in the world to me back then. Right. And I achieved that, and I exceeded that goal in year one because I had a strong enough why. And my why was, I don't want to live like this anymore. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of living hand to mouth. I'm tired of just being embarrassed or terrified to open my checking account and know that there's no money in there. Right. So that was a strong enough why for me to get into action and start making calls to strangers, to start calling expireds, calling for sale by owners, calling my database, doing open houses, door knocking, generating internet leads, taking rejection after rejection after rejection after rejection until I finally would get a win. And then I would build momentum and get another win and another win and another win. And then I started to win more than I was losing. And then my income went up and then my debt was paid off. And then your life could totally turn around, but it won't turn around if you continuously tell yourself it's not possible. And so when you establish your vision, I want you to think about this, take a screenshot, write it down. Rather than saying not possible, ask yourself, what if it was? What if it was possible? And then ask yourself, how might I do it? And then when you start asking yourself how you might do it, it becomes probable. And then you become a person that begins to just get things done. You know that I'm a person that I just go achieve. No matter what goal I set out for myself, I'm going to go make it happen. I've got the skills, I've got the ability, I've got the discipline, I've got the talents to go make this happen. So I want you to think about that from now on. If you catch yourself saying not possible for somebody else, that's not for me, just try this exercise and see if it helps. Now, let's talk about how we're going to get there. So I always like to talk about the mindset because I'm a firm believer that the why, if we have enough reasons why, the how becomes a lot easier. So how am I going to get there? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down again your goal. How much do you want to earn in 2025? Write that down at the top. Just grab a piece of paper, write it down. And then I want you to write down what your average sale price is. So what is your average sale price? 100,000, 300,000, 250,000, 500,000, whatever, 750, whatever the number is, write that down. And then if you know this, I want you to write down what your conversion rate for seller appointments to getting signed listings is. This, knowing your metrics is very, very, very important. When I started out back in the day, I would go on 10 listing appointments and I wouldn't get any of them. So my conversion was 0. Right? Because I was only taught to get into rapport. And every time I would lose a listing, I would call and ask, hey, out of curiosity, I saw you hired someone else. Just out of curiosity, what made you go with that decision? Oh, you were really nice. We really liked you, but they said they would do this, 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 and this, and that we feel like that'll get the job done. I would learn from that loss and I would add it into my presentation. I'd go on the next presentation. I would lose out. Hey, I appreciate you taking the time. Saw you listed with somebody else. Out of curiosity, what made you hire them? They would tell me. I would add that into my presentation. I kept adding things into my presentation, learning from my losses to where it got to the point where I didn't lose listings anymore. I'd go on 10, I'd get 9, right? And so my conversions drastically turned around. But through failure, I was able to then succeed. So what I'll tell you is that learn from your failures and know your conversion rates. If you're going on 10 listing appointments, not getting anybody, well, we need to tweak some things in our process. So I want you to write that down. What is your conversion rate for going on seller appointments to getting signed listings? And the same is true for what your conversion rate is for going on buyer appointments to getting buyer agency agreements signed. And then what we need to look at is what are my conversion rates for seller listings to close transactions? Do I get, because this was the same for me too. I got really good at getting signed listings and I wasn't so good at pricing. So then my listings are sitting and I was even worse at seller servicing. So I would lose listings. So I had to learn from that. I'm constantly looking at holes in my business and seeing where can I plug, where can I get better, where can I improve? So it gets to a point then where you go on, you get good at getting listings, you get good at getting listings signed up, you get good at pricing them, you get good at selling them, you get good at having conversations with sellers. If you need price adjustments, I constantly want to look at where can I improve in my business. So I want to know what my closing and conversion rates are, because if I go take 10 overpriced listings, chances are I'm spending a lot of money when it comes to marketing, photography, if I'm a sign runner, so on and so forth, I'm just wasting money. So I need to look at that and see what are my conversions. So write in your conversions. If you don't have conversions, I would say, and you're not aware, I would probably say 70 to 80%. For the purpose of this exercise, I would use those metrics. And then what is your average commission? How much do you make on average when you sell a house? So I hope are we all on the same page so far? Hopefully, write that down, write down those metrics. And if we have those, we're going to do some math, but I actually want to make it a little bit easier. So we're going to look at right here. There's one thing I'm going to do, actually. Let me punch these in. I'm going to pop up a win the day calculator. And Leo, if you don't mind, drop this in the comments, please. Drop it in the comments. There you go. Thank you. So if you're watching, you can click on this and open this up and open up this exact spreadsheet. And that way you don't have to do math if you don't want. You can just plug your numbers in. So as you can see here, this is what we call the win the day calculator. And so if you pull it up, it might be tough, I know, because if you're trying to watch this and pull it up, but I'm going to talk through it. but you have access to this. So what you could do is go to File right here and go to Make a Copy. And when you go to File, Make a Copy, you can make your own copy of this, and it's yours to keep. So please do that, and don't change mine. So for everybody here, please go to File, Make a Copy, and then just make your own copy and use that copy, and don't type in the numbers on my sheet. So you have this. This is yours to keep. You're more, it's yours to use and keep, and we're going to talk through it. So what I'm going to do now is, after you go to File, Make a Copy, make your own copy, I'm going to, the numbers in red I can change. So I'm going to look at my 250, whatever my goal is. All right. So let's just say my goal is to make $200,000. Okay. And then my seller mix, what does that mean? What my seller mix means is that 50% of my business comes from listings, 50% comes from buyers. Yours may be different. So your mix may be different. You might be heavier on buyers. Maybe 70% of your closings come from buyers and 30% from listings, or vice versa. Think about how many deals you closed in the last year, how many were buyers, how many were sellers, and put those percentages in here. What I will tell you is that a balanced business, a solid business, should be about a 50-50 mix. Because I know if I'm focused on listings, I have leverage in my listings, I can generate buyer leads from my listings. I have the ability to hold those houses open, generate sign calls, run internet ads, things of that nature. So if I keep a listing focused business, I should be able to generate enough buyers to have a 50-50 business mix. I also know that when I'm focused on listings, I have a lot more leverage. When I could service 10 active listings right now, but it would be very, very challenging to run with 10 active buyers. If I had 10 hot buyers that were looking at properties constantly, would I have enough time in the day to service all of those? I don't know. I'd be very, very busy. Where on the listing side, I have a lot more leverage. I have a lot less time into the transaction. So from a dollar per hour perspective as well, my dollar per hour goes up when I take listings. So just keep that in mind as you continue to build your business. But put your mix in here, whatever it is. And what it's going to tell you is, based on your goal, you're going to have to generate $100,000 in commission income from sellers and $100,000 from buyers. Now, whatever your commission rate is, put that in here. So if it's on listings, if I'm good at getting 3.3%, or maybe I get more now, maybe because of the changes, I get 3.5% or greater when I go on a listing. Maybe I'm writing in my buyer compensation or my buyer agency agreements that I get 3% on the buy side, and we're writing that in our agreements when we submit offers. So maybe it looks different now. Maybe it's higher, maybe it's lower, but put whatever your average is in. If you're on a team, put your team split there. So for the purpose of this exercise, I just said 100%, but if I'm on a team, maybe I'm on a 50-50 split, right? So I put that in there. Now, and then I put my average price point, 300,000, 250, 500, whatever it is. For the purpose of this exercise, we're saying 300,000. What that's going to tell me now, oh, somebody just changed me. So whoever just changed me, please make a copy of this, please. Make a copy. File, right here. File, make a copy. Okay. So 200,000. So for the purpose of this exercise now, I need to sell 10 listings to achieve my goal, and I need to sell 10 buyers, or 12 buyers, excuse me. So I need to sell 22 homes in 2025 to achieve my goal. Now, this is where our conversions come into place. So now all of a sudden, my $200,000 goal doesn't seem so unattainable. Okay, I could list and sell 10 homes this year in the next 12 months, and I could go help 12 buyers find a home. Doesn't seem too bad. Now, based on my conversion rates, if I'm saying I'm at 80% conversion on the listing and 80% on the buyer, I need to then get 13 people to sign up with me. And I need to get 13 people to sign up with me in order to sell 10. And I need to get 15 buyers to sign with me in order to sell 12. And then I'm going to take it one step further, and I'm going to look at from a conversion rate there. If I go on listing appointments and I convert 80%, that means in order to sell 10 homes, I need to list 16 properties in 2025. So I need to list, or excuse me, I need to go on, excuse me, I don't need to list. I need to go on 16 listing appointments in 2025 in order to get 80% of those, which is 13, to sign up an agreement with me, in order to sell 80% of the people that choose to list with me, which gives me 10 units. Same is true on the buyer. I need 19 appointments to get 15 to agree to work with me to close 12. So your conversions might be 90%, maybe it's 100, maybe it's 50, but put your conversion in there. And what that tells me now is I need to go on one listing appointment per month. A little over, it doesn't factor in, right? But I need to go on a little over one listing appointment per month, like 1.3 or whatever, and essentially 2 buyers. So basically I need to go on 3 appointments a month to achieve my goal. So if I'm running on 3 appointments a month, I can go hit my goal. Could you go on 3 appointments a month? It's less than 1 a week. The answer is most likely yes, if we put time, focus, and attention on it. So now I take a big goal and I break it down and say, okay, if I want to earn $200,000, I just need to get on 3 appointments every single month. And I need to track my conversions. And now that becomes a little bit easier. Now, I put in here, the reason we call this the win the day is because what this will do too is based on some formulas we've put in here. I'm not going to go through all of this for purpose of time, but we will do it at some point. But it breaks down to total contacts per day based on the number of people you need to talk to a year. And basically, if I want to earn $200,000, I need to talk to 13 people per day. And that's where my win the day number comes from. If I'm going on talking to 13 people per day, I should be able to achieve my goal of $200,000. So I hope that makes sense for everybody. I hope you're able to make a copy of this and utilize it. But put your numbers in, put your numbers in there. Look at your conversions. Is anybody surprised? Drop, if you don't mind, in the comments, drop your appointment. How many appointments do you need? Drop it in the comments. How many appointments do you need to go on? I'd like to see that. How many appointments do you need to go on to hit your income goal? Maybe it's 1 a month. Maybe it's 2 a month. Maybe it's 5 a month. Maybe it's 10 a month. If you run teams, this is a really good exercise to do with your teams, and then build an appointment goal based around that. So I find with teams, especially finding out with your team members what's important about the income they want to earn, knowing that, and then helping them achieve that becomes very, very valuable. So maybe based on this, we can establish a team goal. And so drop it in, though, if you don't mind, comments on how many appointments do you need. And if anybody's having trouble with this as well, let me know. But that's how right now we're going to take these metrics now. We're going to take these metrics and we're going to go back to our business plan. And what we're going to do is, actually, let me change my number because on my other slide, I did 250. But also it shows me my seller sold volume and my buyer sold volume as well. So there we go, Lorenza, 2 appointments per month. Awesome. Yeah, good, very good. 2 a month. Does 2 a month seem doable? All right, 2 a month. I like taking big numbers and compartmentalizing them and making them small. So 2 a month. If my goal now is 2 a month to achieve my goal, it probably doesn't seem so unattainable. I could go on 2 appointments a month. Well, I'm going to take my data now and I want to go back to my presentation here and I'm going to plug my numbers in. So I'm going to plug my numbers in here. Again, you can just use that as well, but I'm plugging my numbers in and I know now how many appointments I need to go on. So now that I know my appointment goal and my win the day goal based off my win the day calculator, there are some things I need to do. So if I know I need to go on, let's say 3 appointments, 3 or 4 appointments a month, I upped my goal here because I increased my GCI by 50 grand. So based on that, I know I need to talk to 13 people. And now what I want to do is I want to type my numbers in here. I'm going to write them in. How much do I want to earn? How many signed listing contracts do I need? How many buyer appointments? How many appointments per week? I want to write all that down, and it's very important that I know those numbers. So just check your win the day calculator or your number and write and transfer those numbers over so you have those set in stone. This is what I need to do to go achieve this. Now, once I have those numbers, it goes back now to breaking this into what I talked about, no more annual plan, but the quarterly plan. So the first thing I would want to do when I'm starting to put this together now is say, I want to go look at my business and say, where did my business come from? Where did my business come from this year, over the last 12 months, or maybe over the last 24 months? Where did it come from? Where did my business come from, and where am I spending my time and attention? So I'm just going to start writing out, and this is what I challenge all of you to do right now, start writing out all of the closings you had. If you were door knocking, or maybe you do open houses, you had 6 closings from that. Write it out. Write out every pillar of business you have and where your business came from. And here's why I say this, because I'm a firm believer with our business, our business has to have legs to it. And what I mean by that is that if I have, I started with my business back in the day with expireds and and then I moved into for sale by owners. And had I not evolved from that and found other pillars of business, think about the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Have there been that many expireds? Absolutely not. Back in 2011, 12, there was hundreds a month, hundreds a day sometimes. Tons and tons of people to call. Well, that pillar has dried up some. It's still definitely a pillar that you could focus on, but you have to evolve your business. And so I need to have legs to my business. And the challenge I see with a lot of newer agents is they try to do everything. And what I mean by that is they're like, you know what, I'm going to hold open houses every weekend. I'm going to door knock. I'm going to start farming my neighborhood. I'm going to farm these other neighborhoods. I'm going to call expires. I'm going to pay for FISBOs. I'm going to pay for Zillow leads. I'm going to pay for other internet leads. I'm going to do all this stuff. They try to do all of it and they don't do any of it well, and then they quit. So what I challenge you to do is let's focus on a few and let's look and see, where did our business come from? If the bulk of my business came from my database in 2024 or even 2023, and I do nothing to focus on my database, I just naturally get repeat referral business. I don't do anything other than providing good service, but I'm spending all of my time and energy on internet leads, and I've only closed 3 transactions from that in the last 12 months, but I closed 15 from my database. Maybe I should look at shifting my focus and saying, hey, maybe I should spend more time and attention on building my database, because that's where I'm getting the greatest return. But I want to look at my lead sources and see what's generating the greatest return for me. And then I'm going to put focus around that. I want to identify what are my top really 5 pillars of where my business is coming from, and then put time and attention into that. So I want to identify my lead sources, and then what I want to do, and this is where it really gets into breaking down the business planning. Once I know my lead sources, here's what I want to do. I want to identify 5 metrics that I'm going to commit to doing consistently for the next 12 weeks. 5. This is my business plan right here. It's not some robust, crazy, elaborate business plan. What this is I'm going to focus my business now. Now, keep in mind, I believe I used 100,000 for my example, but let's just say my goal is 250 for 2025. That means in Q1, I need to earn 20% of my income in Q1. So in the first 12 weeks of 2025, my focus is earning $50,000. That's all I care about. I don't care about the 250 right now. My sights and my focus are set on 50 grand. I want to earn $50,000. I'm committed to earning $50,000 in the first 12 weeks of the year. The way I'm going to do that now is I have to put some time, attention, and focus in some things. So I'm going to identify 5 metrics that I'm committed to doing consistently every single week for the next 12 weeks. Now, what are these metrics? So when I establish these 5 metrics, there are things that I call leading and lagging indicators. So my leading and lagging indicators are going to be things like, a leading indicator would be something like what I call an effort metric. An effort metric would be something like time committed to spending lead generating, a commitment to a number of contacts, a commitment to a number of people on door knocking, commitment to a number of open houses, commitment to some form of an effort metric that's going to help me go generate my goal. And then a lagging metric would be the results that I'm getting from those metrics. So I think you have to have a healthy balance of leading indicators as well as lagging indicators. So my example here is this. I'm committed to talking to 100 people per week. That would be a leading metric. That's effort. That's effort. I'm putting in the effort. I'm committing to talking to 100 people a week. I'm committed to adding 20 new people to my database each week. So what that means is in those 100 contacts, now this doesn't have to be phone calls either. A contact can be if I send out a message. I like phone calls, so I advise them, but phone calls. It can be messy, like Facebook, social media messages, getting 2-way responses. That could be a contact. People you meet at open houses, people you meet at networking events, people you meet just anywhere, right? So having conversations, I consider a contact a real estate related, 2-way real estate related conversation. I don't consider a contact like going out and just handing out business cards. Hey, call me if you ever think about, those are going in the trash, right? So I consider it a 2-way conversation about real estate would be what I would consider a contact. And so I'm looking at how many contacts am I committed to each week? How many people am I committed to adding to my database? And what I mean by that is how many people am I having conversations with them that are good real estate related conversations that maybe intend to do something in the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months or even greater that I'm putting into my database. Another, what I would call leading metric, would be in open houses. I'm committed to taking the effort to doing an open house every week. Maybe I do one on Saturday and do one on Sunday. We've got an agent that just got it back in the business. He's been doing two open houses every weekend for about a month now, and he's got 2 active buyers he's working with in a potential listing. It's just effort, right? It's effort. He's putting the effort in and he's starting to see the results. It's not immediate, but he's starting to see the results from it. A lagging metric for them would be, I'm committed to setting whatever my appointment goal is. Maybe if I need 2 a month, it's 1. I would still do 1 a week. Every single week, I'm committed to setting an appointment. That's a lagging metric, and that's showing, because what I don't want is all leading metrics and there are no results focused metrics. Because if I'm doing the work and doing things but not getting the results, right, that's where I'm mistaking movement for achievement. So I'm looking at then 1 appointment a week, and then maybe I tie in something like 4 social media posts per week, or maybe 1 a day, right, where I'm getting free branding to people. So again, these are just suggested metrics. This is something that you need to build around your business and what your metrics would be. So other things: door knocking, number of hours on script practice, practicing your listing and buyer presentations, farming, mailers, SOI, client events, right? There are lots of things you can do that you can build your metrics around. If you're a newer agent, I would put time on script practicing. When I was a new agent, I had a script practice partner, and we did about an hour of script practice every single day before we made lead generation calls. And so that will get you better. I always say, if you know what to say, you have enough people to say it to, and you say it enough times, you can build a massive business. So part of that, though, is knowing what to say. You have to be fluid with your scripts. And a lot of people say, well, scripts don't sound like me. Well, they're not supposed to sound like you. They're supposed to sound like a super successful realtor. And when you internalize those scripts, it starts to become a natural part of your dialogue. So of course it doesn't sound like you. It's not supposed to sound like you in the beginning. But once you practice them, internalize them, you know them verbatim, it just starts to flow out of your tongue, out of your mouth naturally. And it becomes part of your dialogue, and you start to become a really sharp realtor. You know, a realtor that knows what they're talking about. And that's the goal. That's the goal we all want to get to, is to become a true professional realtor, not just somebody that kind of is a hobbyist that does it. You know, if somebody calls me, I'll go sell them a house. We want to take our profession serious and be the best real estate agent, realtor possible. So these 5 metrics, I hope this makes sense. We're going to pick 5 metrics, and we're going to do them consistently every week for the next 12 weeks. This will not change. The 5 metrics you set will not change for the next 12 weeks. You're committed to doing the next 5. Now, once we have our 5, we need to have some form of accountability around this, because if we do all of this and then again it sits in a drawer and we don't look at it, it's not going to get us any further to our goal. So what we like to do is we create a scorecard. So if you think about it, whenever who's been if you ever see, you know, this is an example that I've heard in the past, but you see kids on a playground, or maybe when you're a kid, you're on a playground. Was the intensity increased when you were keeping score? You're at recess, right? If you're just kind of shooting around, playing horse, playing basketball, you're just kind of shooting around, whatever. Not a ton of intensity, most likely. You could always tell when kids were keeping score. The intensity went up. Kids want to win. And so when we keep score of our effort every week, the intensity gets turned up. And when we can compact that time into a more condensed period of time, the urgency increases as well. So Joe Geary's a young guy on our team. This was just an example I pulled up. I was looking at some past scorecards. This was from September, and it was from July to September. So like I said, it was what, Q3. So Joe set a goal. He had a goal to earn $30,000 in that quarter. And Joe's weekly goal was to set 1 appointment a week, to sign 1 client a week, to sell 1 house a week, and to do 4 social media posts. And then what's called Bold Trail now, the CRM we use, to have 100% completion on his follow-ups. So those were his metrics. Now, Joe has a lot of what I call lagging indicators here. The reason for that was because he was already very disciplined. I think he was, 23 when this was going on. He was 23 years old, but he had been in the business since he was 19 with us. So he was already very disciplined in doing his lead generation. So he knew he didn't need a lot of accountability around doing the activities. So that's why his leading indicators weren't really there. He focused a lot on lagging indicators. So what I would challenge you or encourage you to do is that if you're not consistent in the lead generation, the leading indicators, put those on your scorecard and have a couple of lagging. Joe's is a little bit different because he was already disciplined and consistent with doing his lead gen every day. And so he focused on his lagging indicators. But that was his goal, was to set basically in his 12-week period in that Q3 of 2022, his goal was to set 12 appointments, to sign 12 clients, to sell 12 properties, and to do 48 social media posts and get 100% follow-up completion. So when we move through our scorecard here, you can see what the weekly goal was here on the left side. And this was for, I believe it was the last week of our tracker. And it says WHAM. That stands for Weekly Accountability Meeting. And we'll talk on that in a moment. But that last week, he set one appointment. He had one signed client. He put one property under contract. He did 1 out of 4 social media posts, and he had 100% follow-up completion, which totaled 100%, 25%. It gave him an 85% for the week. So for that week, Joe scored an 85% on his scorecard in his weekly accountability meeting. Now, what's cool about when you do these metrics like this and you build a scorecard or build a level of accountability, and you do these weekly accountabilities, we would do them every Monday. We would get together, we'd all present our numbers, and we'd say, how did we do? How did we feel about the week? And what happens there is you have a level of peer accountability now, and when we know other people are watching, we tend not to want to fall too short of our goal. So I know on Monday I have to show up, present my numbers. It forces me now to make sure I'm hitting my numbers, so I'm not showing up with a 20% or a 30%. All right, now Joe was a guy that every week he was pretty standout. He's a very consistent individual. That's why he's a successful realtor and successful in his business. But let's look at his total 12-week too. So his goal for the 12-week period was to set 12 appointments. He set 20. So he set 20 appointments in 12 weeks. His goal was to sign 12 clients. He signed 14 clients. His goal was to put 12 properties under contract. He put 17 under contract in that 12-week period. And then 48 social media posts, he hit 45. He had 129.69% total score, average score for the 12-week period. Now his income was $30,000. He achieved $35,844.82. So keep that in mind too. This is a young guy who's 23 at the time, made 35 grand in 3 months. All right, like that's pretty good. All right, pretty good, very good actually for a young guy. He's motivated. He was disciplined. He had a clear plan. He knew exactly what he needed to do every single week. And then he just showed up and executed on his work every day. And so when you take something like this and you break it into small goals like this, it becomes very easy. It's not this overwhelming, I have to do all this stuff. It's just, hey, I know every single day, every single week what I need to go do. I know on Monday I'm meeting with my team, or I'm meeting with my accountability partner, and we're going to compare numbers. And I don't want to be the person in the room getting 20%, because there was that too. There were people in the rooms that would get 20%. So here's what I would say. If here are my goals, and instead of 100%, these are at 20, 20, 0, 20, 0. My total score is 25% for the week. I have to be asking that person, or asking myself, if it's my scorecard, do I even care about my goal? Is my goal important to me, or does it not even matter? Right? Because if I'm not willing to put the effort in, like, you can have all the resources, you can have all the talent, all the ability, you can know everything you need to do, but if you're not willing to do it, it's probably not going to happen for you. So what I look at here is say, okay, did the effort metrics get hit? Right? If I have effort metrics on here, did I do the effort? Did I control the numbers I could control? I can't always control if I set an appointment or not, but I can control the number of people I talk to. So if that number is 10 out of 100, do I even care about my goal? Or is it 100 or 110 or 120 and I have 0 for appointment set? Well, maybe I have a scripting issue I need to work on. All right, so that's what I'm talking about too, figuring out where we're plugging in the holes so we can continuously and consistently add to our business and grow our business. But what I would say too is, once you set this, because I see people changing metrics a lot too. Well, I was doing 2 open houses a week for the first 3 weeks, it didn't work. Or you know, my goal was 2 open houses, but I want to change it. What I would say, and actually I had the opportunity, I talked to the author of the 12-week yearbook, Brian Moran, about 6 months ago. I had a chance to talk to him one-on-one. It was pretty cool. Because again, this book has made a big impact on my life and the way I goal set and the way I accomplish my goals. But he said too, he told me something interesting. He said, don't let people change their number unless they're hitting consistently 80% a week on their scorecard. So if my goal was one open house a week and I didn't do any, and I had 0%, 0%, 0%, and I was like, or maybe I did one out of the first 4 weeks, I have 25%. And I'm like, you know what? Open houses don't work. I'm going to do a different metric. No, you didn't even give it a chance. So your metrics have to be a minimum 80%. If I'm consistently hitting 80% week after week after week after week, I do need to be flexible and pivot. Maybe open houses aren't for me. Maybe my system's broke. Maybe I don't, whatever the case may be, I can shift metrics, but only if I'm actually putting in the effort to do them and I'm not getting the results I want. So I wouldn't advise shifting a lot of stuff, but I hope this is clear, and it's hard to tell when I can't get like back engagement, but if this is clear for watching this, does this make sense? I hope I'm doing a good job of explaining it. But again, I'm taking my small goals or my big goal, and I'm breaking it down now. And I'm breaking it down into bite-sized pieces that I can accomplish every week. And so again, this is a great thing. If you're running teams, this is a great thing to do with your team. Everyone sets their goals, sets their numbers, find out the purpose, the reason why they want to do it, break their numbers down. And then every Monday, you do a weekly accountability appointment. Then you go through their numbers. How did you do? I found too that when I did this with the team as well, it worked really well because I had accountability too. Like it wasn't just me sitting at the front of the room, lecturing people. I was in the trench with them, doing it with them. I was making the call, setting the appointments. I had the metrics to hit. I had to be accountable as well. But it works really well when you have people that buy into this and that focus on it. Again, you're breaking your goals down to a much smaller piece and you're setting a very realistic and simplified business plan rather than some robust thing that probably will never get done. So I hope that was helpful from that aspect. If you have questions on this scorecard, or if you have questions on putting your metrics, you can always give me a call or email me. Leo, you'll throw my contact info in, please, in the comments. But if you have questions, you're like, you know what, I'm struggling on what my metrics should be, I'm happy to talk through it with you and put a plan together for you for 2025. Now, once you have, I got a question here. How do you handle situations where team members struggle to meet their daily or quarterly goals? Yeah, that's a good question. So, okay. So on that, in this meeting, we have to ask why. What happened this week? So I see that this week, the last 3 weeks, you had 30% on everything. What's going on? All right. Now, again, there's pure accountability there. What's going on? Well, because this happened a lot. These are real things. I guess I need to focus on time blocking. Okay. What does that look like? What does that mean? We have to go deeper and ask questions around that. What does that mean? Well, I just didn't have my lead gen in my calendar. It just wasn't. Okay. Was it even important? Is your goal important to you? Let's go back and talk about what's the reason. Why do you want to achieve the money you want to achieve? What's the reason behind it? Why is that important to you? Okay, are you committed to time blocking your calendar today as soon as this meeting's over so we can make sure next week we're not having the same conversation? Because we would get that a lot. It was week after week of people saying, well, I need a time block. And if you let them slide on that, well, then they're just going to get more of it. What's also neat about this as well is that from the pure accountability standpoint, your top people are going to rise and your other people are going to self-select out. And that's okay. Because for me personally, like I like to be in a room full of people that want to win. And when you get a lot of people that don't really care, you'll find that they self-select out. They quit showing up. They don't take it serious. And then you put your time and focus on the people that do care, that do want to be there, the people that do want to get better. And so a lot of it's just asking questions. What's the goal? What happened? What happened last week? Oh, I had family stuff. I had this, I had that, whatever the case is. Okay, well, what are we going to do this week to ensure we have a better week? All right. What is your calendar set for the week already? No, it's not. Okay, when do you intend to have your calendar set? Are you going to do it right after this appointment, right after this meeting? Yeah, going to have it. Okay, great. Do that and then report back and let me know when it's good. And let's take a look at it. Let's talk about it. Make sure your calendar is set up to help you achieve the success you want to achieve. So that's a lot of it, is just asking good questions. But again, the accountability, and what's cool too is like you'll start to find your people that maybe aren't the team lead or something, they'll start stepping in and holding other people accountable too. They'll start pushing people. They'll start asking, hey, did you hit your numbers yet? Where are you at on your tracker this week? How are you doing on your goals? I know you had 2 appointments. You set 2 appointments. How did they go? You start to get that peer accountability where it creates that camaraderie, and it also creates a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for here? Not pressure, but like it creates a little, I don't know why the word's slipping, but you get people competition, healthy competition. There we go. It creates a little bit of healthy competition. So Leo, feel free to drop my cell phone on there too, if you don't mind. You guys can call me or email me if you have questions about this. So, okay, here's what I want to talk about. Let's kind of wrap this up. Once we have our metrics set, right, we've got some things here. So a lot of this is we get excited. We're like, you know what? I'm going to make this happen. I'm pumped up. I'm going to hit my goal. I've got a plan in place. I feel good about my plan. I'm going to crush it, right? That's what we really call uninformed optimism. Uninformed optimism. We don't really know what we don't know. And then what happens is we start into this and week one goes by and maybe we're doing the effort and we're not getting the results we want. So we're not getting the results we want. And then we start to get into this uninformed pessimism. We start to become going from optimistic to pessimistic. And we start to be like, oh, God, this is harder than I thought. Is this even worth it? Oh man, I just got hung up on again. We start to get that pessimistic person or those trait where it's starting to creep in. The doubt's starting to creep in. Maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I shouldn't have did real estate full time. Then we get to phase 3, which is what we call the valley of despair. This is where we're doing the effort and we're not getting the results we want. And this is where most people quit. So this is where most people quit. And this is typically around week 4. This is where you're going to see people throw in the towel. This isn't for me. I quit. And so what happens though, is during this time period, the people that don't quit and that stick with it, right? Because we all want instant gratification. We all want things yesterday. We all want the success yesterday. But the reality is it takes time. It takes effort. It takes discipline. It takes consistency. It takes facing rejection and continuing to move forward. And the people that push through when they're here, when they're at their lowest, they start to rise and they start to stack wins up. And then all of a sudden their efforts start to compound. And people they talked to a couple weeks ago, 3, 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, they call them and say, hey, we're ready to list our house. Great, I just got a listing. Another person calls. We follow up on that person. We got the listing. Things start to happen. And now we move into phase 4, which is informed optimism. We know now what we didn't know before. And we know that if we continue to do the activities, we will continue to get results. And we push our way to phase 5, which is success and fulfillment. And the best thing about phase 5 is that now you've become a person that you can depend on. Right? You know that no matter what challenge you face in your life, you're going to be able to handle it. No matter what happens, no matter what situation happens, no matter what happens with the economy, no matter what happens in your life, whatever the situation is, you are going to become a person that will figure it out. You're going to figure it out. You're going to continue to move forward. And that's the best possible place you can be. Like for me, take away all the money, the house, the cars, all of it. Like I still have me. I've got my abilities, my talents, my skill set, my willingness, the things I've learned over the years, right? All the years of practice. Like I can go out and sell anything. I know I can go sell toilets and make a living at it if I had to. It doesn't matter. Right? I know I've got the ability, not saying I want all of it to go away, right? But if it did, I'll be okay. And that's when you get to phase 5. You know that you've now become a person that you can count on yourself. You can achieve whatever goal you want. And you know you're going to make things happen. Whatever the target is, you will hit it. You are that person. Now, that doesn't matter. I'm going to go make this happen. This is my goal. I'm going to work like hell to make it happen, and I'm going to go achieve it. And that's the best part about not quitting, because what happens to this time of year is a lot of people start to say, you know what? Christmas is coming. I need money for my kids. I need money for presents. I need to go get a job. I need to go get a part-time job to just get through the holidays. And I understand, right? I completely understand. I've been there where it was been like Christmas is my favorite holiday, or one of my favorites. And it could also, in the past, it was the most stressful time of year. How am I going to pay for these gifts? How am I going to do this? Like, I get it, right? And so what I would challenge you to do is look at the last 90 days. If your business is slow right now, look at the last 90 days. What have you done to push your business forward? And if the answer is not a lot, we need to change that. And then what I would also say is, rather than looking at that part-time job, what if you took that 20 hours a week you were going to work for a part-time job, and let's say you're going to make $20 an hour. That's $400 a week. That's what, 300 and something, 330 after taxes. What if you took that same 20 hours each week and put it toward your real estate business? Could you close a sale before the end of the year and make $8,000? Right? Rather than like, what, 3, 6, 9, 12, $1,500 or whatever you're going to get for your part-time job. Could you? The answer is yes, you could. Now, the challenge is we know that the guaranteed, if I go get the part-time job, it's guaranteed I'm going to get paid for my time. The negative or the challenge with the real estate end of it and putting that time in is there's no guarantee, but the outcome could be substantially better. I definitely guarantee you, if you put the time and effort in, you will make it happen. So just think about that as that doubt starts to creep in your head right now. Put the same time. If you're willing to go put that time into work for somebody else, what if you invested it into yourself and building your future? And now here's some common pitfalls and some success tips. So pitfall 1, we don't take the power of our vision seriously. We're not taking the power of our vision seriously. My vision isn't meaningful enough. There's just not enough purpose behind it. Or maybe it's too small. Maybe I've been thinking too small. Or I don't connect my vision to my daily actions. So I want you to think about this again. I'll go back to my 2011 vision where it was $50,000. $50,000, that goal motivated me enough to get out of bed on the days I didn't want to get out of bed. And there were a lot of them. There were a lot of days where I would lay there, because here's the thing with financial stress. Aside from probably health stress, financial stress is right up there as one of the worst types of stress you could possibly have, because you wake up with it, you work all day with it, you lay in bed staring at the ceiling thinking about it. Right? Financial stress is horrible. And so when you might be in that position right now, and I sympathize with you because I've definitely been there. But what are the options you have? Continue to do what you've been doing and continue to live with that stress forever, or make some significant changes right now. Go take action. Get out of bed on the days you don't want to get out of bed. I still have days now where I don't want to get out of bed, and I have a lot of them now. Days I just don't feel like doing it, and I get up and do it anyway, because I know that laying in bed will not push me any closer to my goals. So on the days I don't want to do it, those are the days I especially have to do it. Right. And now too, like my vision, my why, a lot of that has changed too. Like I have a wife now, I've got a baby on the way. In the past, it was like, dude, I'm good. You know, like I only got to take care of me. Like my vision has shifted a lot, and yours will too over time, most likely. But tie the power of your vision to what's really important to you. Why is this important to me? Why am I going to go do this? What are the results? How does it feel when I make it happen? Right. So these are some common pitfalls, but connect it to your daily actions. Every single day I think about my goals. Every single day. That's why I have a vision board on my computer screen. I look at it every single day. I read my goals to myself out loud every single day. I focus on where I want my life to go every single day. And when you do that and connect that to your daily activities, it makes it a lot easier to get up and go to work. It makes it a lot easier to make those follow-up calls. It makes it a lot easier to face the rejection. I still face tons of rejection every way. I cold call agents every single day, and I get rejected by real estate agents every single day. Nope, not interested. Never heard of you. I don't know who you are. Click, hang up, right? I get rejected at least 15 times a day. And that's okay. Because for every time I get rejected, I'm closer to a yes. And then eventually I get somebody that says, yeah, I'm interested in talking to you. And then another person joins our company, and our company continues to grow. So get used to rejection as well. It's part of the process. Now, I'm fortunate, calling expireds, FSBOs, internet leads, all that, I got really comfortable getting rejected all the time. It doesn't even bother me anymore. But it used to. I used to sit in my little tiny office all by myself, and I'd get the 5th rejection in a row and just be like, what am I doing? Right? And then a debt collector would call me, and another one would call me, and I have to deal with that. And yeah, I get it. It's hard, right? It's very hard. But if we quit, we're never going to get out of that cycle. So continue to push and continue to think about why your vision is important to you. And what I will say from a success tip perspective, share it with other people. If you have peer accountability and you've got people that know what your goals are, and go find an accountability partner. Go get goals, stay in touch with your vision. Look at your goals daily, look at your vision board daily, stay in touch with it. Don't let it get put in a drawer, and then just live it with intention. Know that good times are ahead, or if you have good times here, the good times can continue. Stay focused, keep doing it day in and day out, because the greatest thing is consistency. If you stick with it every single day, you can't just do it when it feels good. You got to do it every single day, even on the days you don't want to. And when you stack up enough wins, daily wins, weekly wins, monthly wins, it turns into yearly wins. And then one good year turns into 3 good years, and 5 good years, and a decade of good years, and decades of good years. But it doesn't happen if we don't stick with it early on. We can't quit when things get a little bit hard, we get a little bit discomfort. So every single day, live with intention. I hope this was helpful. Our information's there. That's all I've got for today. Again, if you need anything, call me. If you're interested in us starting this after the first of the year and doing a kind of like a virtual weekly accountability meeting where you put your goals on or can track it, more than happy to do that if we get enough attendance. So I want to help you hit your goals. I want to see everybody on this call just crush 2025 and have the best year ever. And I'll do whatever I can to help you make that happen. So thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. And we'll talk with you here soon.